Born around 1973-74. I don't know exactly when I was born.
The man, like any other African child, went through thick and thin to attain education, only to end in pharmacy world. The man whose pharmacy expertise saw his interest grow in herbal medicine to an extent of giving birth to COVIDEX.
Chisubi, I'm using Omwiha, I'm using Omutatembwa.
A COVID-19 supplementary herbal medicine that made it to the headlines of the world.
I was advised by many Ugandans. Many Ugandans, my professor, avoid what? Media.
From this glory to this fighting.
Mbari University is fighting OGWANG. OGWANG is fighting what? Mbari University. And that was not very good actually for us as a university.
And from that to a national hero.
Wow. That made me feel so good. I was like, oh, the president really treasures me. Yes. He called me back, so I can have a picture with him alone. I was very happy.
Prof. Patrick E OGWANG. Patrick E OGWANG is a Ugandan pharmacist, pharmacologist, ethnobotanist, medical researcher, an entrepreneur who serves as an associate professor and head of the Department of Pharmacy at Mbarara University in Uganda. He concurrently serves as the executive chairman of Jena Herbals Uganda Limited. Professor OGWANG has also in the past served as president of Pharmaceutical Association of Uganda, PAU, which advocates, champions and governs pharmacists and pharmaceutical practices in Uganda. A visit to a home that made him is not only worth, but also a chance to enter through the gates of Mbarara University of Science and Technology. The same gates the professor entered years ago, commonly known as MUST. The university was opened in October 1989 after extensive modification of physical facilities of the former School of Midwifery at the then Mbarara District Hospital. A move that opened gates to several generations of medicine studies at this university. And from October 28, 1989, Mbarara University of Science and Technology has seen many community innovations contributing to its development and that of our motherland Uganda, just like Professor Patrick OGWANG. This is Faces of Uganda.
AHTV, empowering you.
Faces of Uganda, and yes, the profile you just watched, that is our first guest, and our first episode is going to be like this. But in 2019, the World Health Organization released a report that indicated that globally 60% people that live in the world tend to trust herbal medicine as their way of, the quickest way to primary health care. And more shocking is actually that 80% of residents in developing countries trust herbal medicine to every other conventional medicine as their primary health care. What does this mean, and where does this actually leave Uganda? Which people do we have in Uganda that are standing out to ensure that yes, the 80% are actually catered for and they are safe? Now today on this episode, just like we watched, we have a pharmacist, also an expert in pharmacology, but also someone with Doctor of Philosophy in Pharmacology, but as well the head of department, we're talking about pharmacy department and Mbarara University of Science and Technology, who is actually a researcher and entrepreneur, the executive chairman of Jena Nature Products. Now Jena Nature Products is the father of COVIDEX. COVIDEX is our only supplement that we understand so far here in Uganda to be linked to at least offer some supplementary help to victims of COVID-19. I'm talking about Professor Patrick E OGWANG. You're welcome, Prof, on Faces of Uganda. You could say hi to the viewer.
Thank you very much, and hello viewers of this young but growing TV.
Yes.
It's called iTV.
Yes.
We look forward to seeing you become the CNN of Africa. Thank you.
We take that, Prof. We are very glad with that, of course. Finally, we are seated next to someone who recently was awarded a Golden Jubilee Award. It doesn't come to any other civilian. It's for the special civilians that we believe have contributed a lot to the country. Do you have a comment about that?
I am very grateful to government and to Ugandans for considering me to receive that golden award by the nation. I know that my children will see it and say our father did something
yes.
in this generation.
Yes.
So really I am happy with it. And also it motivates many other young people, many other scientists and researchers who look to me,
yes,
to know that the nation can recognize you if you do something great.
Yeah. Was it close to motivating you to do more for this nation?
I've already been doing more.
Yes.
I was still going to do more without it.
Okay.
But it's an addition. Yes, that you know, when you give somebody something and they say thank you feel like giving them again.
True.
So when the nation says thank you, I feel like giving the nation again. Yeah.
Well, Prof, we cannot delay any longer. This viewer here has been waiting to view your story for some good days. What we know about you is that way back 1st Jan 1973 in Tuboy, we're talking about Kabila Maido, a young man was born. I want to believe your mother at that time perhaps was the happiest. But you would only grow later to become who we know today, just like the profile reads. Could you help us connect the dots and we get the right story from the horse's mouth?
Okay, I'm called Professor Gwang Patrick Engeo. I am Associate Professor of Pharmacy at the Department of Pharmacy, Faculty of Medicine, Bari University of Science and Technology. I was born in Soroti, a place called Arapai Amen, to a Langi woman called Jenna Kech and a Muteso man, an Etesot man, not a Muteso, that's called an Etesot man, called Joke Alfred. I think I was born around 1973-74. I don't know exactly when I was born, but if you look at my documents, I indicate 15th September 1974. Because when I asked my mom about the events when I was born, where I was born, she told me I was born in hospital, but I could not trace my birth certificate. But I used mathematics to calculate approximately when I was born, so I got those days as my birth date.
So but, the 1st Jan 73
was got for my relatives in the village.
Okay.
They may be actually, I don't know, but none of them is even I'm not sure of my date I was born. I'm not sure where they are very, because there's no birth certificate.
Okay.
Language drip, but IV fluids, dextrose and normal saline, and even nozzle drops and eye drops. So I gave them the plan. I told them there's water in Lake Victoria we cannot finish. Like normal saline made out of salt, water. Those are the two things. Dextrose is made out of sugar, glucose, and water, and those things are here. So I'm like, if you can get money, set up a factory, you will not finish what in Lake Victoria, you make for us IV fluid. So they got money and they built their factory now, which is on Mukono Road. So when they built that factory, they called me to go and work with them. As their pharmacist, I refused. I refused to go. They are going to pay me a lot of money, but I refused to go. I remained working with the Ministry of Health, Department of Research in Natural Medicines. It was called Natural Chemotherapy Research Lab then. So I was earning there 500,000. They are going to pay me 5 million.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but I refused to go. Why? Because I knew that what I was doing at chemotherapeutics will be more impactful in years to come. Because I was studying medicinal plants, I was studying herbal medicines, I was studying things which can be done here. So long-term view made me refuse 5 million instead of getting 5 million. I remained to earn 500,000. And 15 years down the road, I am happy But I chose the direction of not quick money, but long-term goal. Because COVIDEX would not come if I had gone for that money, quick money. Yeah, so then I worked with natural chemical physics for 10 years and 6 months. Now, I joined natural chemical therapies one year in 2004. Then in 2005, I began doing research. In 2006, I had my cousin who had a nephew who had sickle cell disease. Not sickle cell disease. Yeah, there's no cure for it.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was disturbing him a lot. So I decided to do research and make for him medicine as my nephew. So I made the first medicine of mine, which I called Jenna SM, Jenna for sickle cell and malaria prevention.
Jenna again is stemming from Jenna, the name?
The name of my mom.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, Jenna, the name of my mother. So when I made that medicine for that boy, it helped him seriously. He stopped getting pain. His eyes, which were yellow, changed to become normal. His stomach, which was swelling, stopped swelling. So I would always make for him. But then, one time I went to Gaya's side, and I found a boy sitting under the sun. He was like 12 years old, 13 years old. At around 10 a.m. was sitting under the sun. So I asked the mother, what's the problem with this boy? Why is not at school? The grandmother says he's sick. His kidneys are spoiled. I said, kidneys are spoiled? How can your kidney be spoiled when you're still here? So I said, do you have his medical records? They get his book, medical book from Mulago Hospital. When I read through, I found that he had sickle cell disease, which had caused his eyes to become yellow and had caused his stomach to swell because the liver was getting damaged also. So I tell the grandma that I have medicine for sickle cell disease because it has worked for my nephew. So I said, I'll bring for this boy tomorrow. So the following day, I drove back to that side. I took for him for free. I said, you give him this medicine every day, let him get 10 meals every day, and then let me know after 2 weeks. So after 1 week, I went back to check on my garden, because I had a garden that side. So I got that home. I said, where's Joshua? They said, Joshua is not here. I said, where has he gone? They said, he has gone to school. I said, to school?
You already knew now.
Within just 1 week? He said, yes. He says he's in boarding school. It was around 4 p.m. I'm like, no. Is that school far? Because I really wanted to see him. This somebody was at home, yellow eye, got dropped out of school. They said they're waiting for him to die there. So the grandfather said, yeah, the school is not far, we can drive there. So we drove there. We found Joshua in the class, having lectures, having lessons with the master. Then we noticed that, the grandfather said, this is the doctor of Joshua who was giving medicine that's helping him. Then the headmaster said, doctor, thank you very much. For the first time, this boy has been in school for more than 1 day. Always he comes 1 day, he goes back home, 1 day goes back home. But now he has stayed there for 1 week and he's okay. So that boy studied, sat P7, completed, joined S1, S2, S3, S4. I was giving him medicines to treat him. But one time I went to Ethiopia for 1 month to do my research there. When I came back, they told me he had died. I said, what happened? The father told me that he ran out of medicine when you were away.
And they had nowhere
to get them. So that time I realized, they had nowhere to get the medicine. I was away in Ethiopia. I'm done to make for him. So that thing made me change my mind and thinking. I'm like, now I don't need to make up medicine when they come. I should make the medicine and put it in the pharmacies. Yeah. So that even if I'm not there,
it will be available.
Let's be available. So that's how I formed a company called Jenna. So that I could make now this medicine and make it through Jenna, have it licensed by National Authority, and I can put in the pharmacy. So I began now making that medicine called Jenna SM and putting it in pharmacies like Freka, Plasmedic, and so on in Kampala.
Talking about which year?
That was 2007. That's almost 14 years ago.
That was before you went
ago.
For masters.
I was already doing my masters by then.
Okay.
Yeah, Kokara, I was working while doing my masters. So
Jenna starts.
Jenna company now starts. So I used to have my own lab in my home. So in my home, I built. We had the first house, and then now the second house. So we moved to the second house, and then the first house became my lab for producing my medicine. So it became my manufacturing facility and drug development. I would go work, come back in the evening, develop my formulas. in my lab at home. Up to now, that building is still there. I still have my old equipment. You can take a picture of them and see how they are. So after work, I go to church. From church, I go I come back home to my lab to develop those formulas. So in that lab at home, I managed to develop over 15 formulas in the lab at home. COVIDEX was one of the formulas developed many years ago for somebody not for COVID-19. So I already had those formulas developed. Now, so Jenna then starts like that. I used to work with my family to make the medicines and supply to people who wanted them and the pharmacies. But about 5 years ago or 3 years ago, it began now expanding. So I decided to put up another laboratory on Entebbe Road, a place called Arkwright. So, and then I moved the facility there for manufacturing from there. So when, by the time COVID came, we already had a good manufacturing unit with well-trained staff.
And in terms of, the regulations and all that?
Yes, we had submitted we are notified NDA with almost all those formulas, including the formula for COVIDEX, but we were calling it Genadent. By that time, not COVIDEX, but the formula was almost the same. And NDA had inspected us like twice. Of course, they told us to make improvements, but at least they had inspected us like 2 times, and they found that we were actually making good progress to make our place suitable.
Books read that it was meant to treat wounds in the... Yes,
COVIDEX initially meant to treat wounds in the mouth, but the way it turned out to be a bomb for COVID-19 is amazing how things work. Yeah, so that's how then Jenna starts. So Jenna initially was owned by me and my wife as directors. Now we brought in 2 more people, so we're now 4 directors. And we have several products. We have Jenna SM, which is for sickle cell disease. We have Jenna Mal, which is for malaria prevention. Just taking your tea, like I'm taking this tea here, you don't get malaria forever. Just put instead of taking coffee or dry tea, put the Jenna Mal, you never get malaria.
So it's a keep on, you need to keep on taking it?
Yes, like once a week. Even if you miss for some time, there's no problem. Don't have to take it every day. Yeah, but it keeps malaria off, it keeps fever away, it keeps many infections away from you. As I told you, I've trained for over 18 years. I've never gone to hospital that I'm sick.
Scientifically, how do these things work? They sort of boost your immunity?
So like now the one for malaria prevention, it works in 3 ways. 1, it increases your white blood cells called monocytes. Not only increasing their number, but also increase their capacity to engulf and digest the parasite. You get it? Red blood cell, the parasite which are in the red blood cell, malaria parasites. Now when they digest those parasites, they convert the parasite parts to what we call antigens. Then they present those antigens to B cells and make antibodies. So you also develop antibodies against the malaria parasites. So they engulf the parasites, eat them up, convert their parts into antigens. Then those antigens make you produce more antibodies that increase the immunity. Secondly, they also block, that medicine also blocks parasites from converting hemoglobin in the body into a compound called hemozyme. Hemozyme is a compound that the malaria parasites produces as a result of its trying to neutralize heme. Heme is iron 2. So iron 2 is toxic to the malaria parasite. When the parasite comes in, it kills the parasite. So what the parasite does, it produces an enzyme that converts that heme 2 to heme 3. Now heme 3 is what we call hemozyme. Now hemozyme has a very bad effect on the immune system. So hemozyme accumulates in white blood cells and makes them weak. They make them unable to move, makes them unable to attack infection. So that's why if you get malaria, you also get other diseases like cough and flu also comes up.
Because you're a bit weak.
Your immunity is weak. So this drug prevents formation of hemozyme, make your white blood cells active and able to move and attack infection. Sadly, they also have compounds that directly kill the parasite, also directly. So 3 ways. 1, engulfing the parasite, eating and producing antibodies. 2, blocking hemozyme formation. 3, killing the parasite directly also. So that's why.
And that way, you're sure you're not getting malaria?
No, I've done now since 2009. How many years now? 13 years.
Yes.
No malaria. No malaria. Yeah.
Well, Let's look at more products at Jena.
Yes, so we also have Jena acid and Jena pep for peptic ulcers. Excellent medicine for peptic ulcers. You see, I'm a pharmacist. I have given so many drugs for ulcers to people. Meprazole, lansoprazole, Heligal-Kit, all those medicines, none compared with Jena seed and Jena pep. Why is Jena seed more superior? The way it's designed and the way it works. So ulcers comes because of certain factors happening in your stomach or in your small intestines. What are those factors? Number one, acid. The acid corrodes the stomach. So if you don't eat food at the right time, like now if you miss lunch just frequently, the acid will keep corroding the stomach because there's no food to digest. Two, the other factor is what we call the protective layer. There is a layer of fluids, mainly bicarbonate layer, that protects the wall of the stomach so that it's not corroded by the acid. Now, when someone has ulcers, modern treatment focuses on one, suppressing acid production. Omeprazole suppresses acid pumping into the stomach. It blocks acid from being pumped into the stomach. Other drugs, lansoprazole, the same mechanism. Then you have the old ones which are called H2 receptor blockers. Those ones block like also acid. They block some receptors that help in production of acid. Now, the problem with them is that, you see, trying to block something is more difficult than trying to cooperate with it. Do you understand?
Cooperating seems to be easier.
Cooperation is easier and much better. So modern medicine approach believes in blocking things. Blocking natural process is not the best way to handle any disease, because once you block this process, there will be what we call either feedback mechanism or counter process. So what happens that if you begin treating yourself with omeprazole or these modern drugs for ulcers, the first 2 weeks you feel okay. You talk to who have taken it, they say I first felt okay the first. After that, the pain comes back. They're taking the medicine, but the pain is there. They say you increase the dose, so from one level they say you go 1 times 2, and still then they change to other drugs. Why? Because the drugs are trying to block the natural mechanism, the natural process, and the body is trying to produce the counter effect to stop that. So the drug ends up failing. Now, herbal medicines work in a different way. Jena seed and Jena pep work in a different way. What they do, they don't go for acid production, blocking it. They go for enhancing the natural way, the natural mechanism by the body neutralizes the acid. So in the stomach, there's acid, there is bicarbonate. They are opposite. One is acidic, one is alkaline or basic. So this one is supposed to check the effect of the other one. Now when the acid increases, the best thing to do is to increase its balance, the bicarbonate level. So Jena seed will increase bicarbonate production. When it does that, then it will help to neutralize the excess acid, promoting wound healing. Secondly, now we know that there is a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori, as many know H. pylori, in ulcers. It promotes formation of ulcers and makes it difficult to heal. Now H. pylori, in modern medicine, we tend to use antibiotics like clarithromycin to kill H. pylori, but you can't kill it when the acid level is low. So when the stomach pH is below 5, you cannot kill H. pylori. It hides, it hibernates, and when a germ hibernates, the drug cannot kill it because it must be active for the drug to enter. It eats the drug, and then the drug kills it. But when it's not eating the drug, you can't kill it. So modern medicine will keep the acid level remains low, so the bacteria cannot be killed. Now what Jena seed does, Jena seed raises the acid level to above 5. When acid level is above 5, the bacteria becomes active. Then they can be killed using antibiotics. So that's why you find that if you use Jena seed to raise the acid level, acid level up, and then by the second week you start like clarithromycin or antibiotics, you can cure the ulcer completely.
So there won't be cases of, because what we see with the modern one, people are also going to have issues with appetite.
Losing appetite?
Yeah, most of them.
No, with Jena seed you don't lose appetite.
Okay.
Yes, so we also have Jena DM for diabetic patients. It's very good to boost the immunity, helps to lower blood sugar. We also have GNHT, which is for hypertension, very good medicine for high blood pressure. Even this morning as I was coming, I was called by one of the people works in Bank of Uganda. His pressure has been high. He began taking it and his pressure went down. His pressure is now normal. And you're not taking it for a week and still okay. So that's a bit of GNHT for high blood pressure. We also have Jena for cough. This is because of Omicron, there's a lot of cough by using it. Jena for flu and allergy, which is very good for people who sneeze in the morning, sneeze in dusty places. It stops that condition. I used to sneeze when I was allergic. Yes, I used to sneeze every day and look at like 5 handkerchiefs to work. But since you met me in the morning, I've had me sneezing because I've been using Jena for flu and allergy. But the good thing that once you use it for some time, you can stop for a long time without using it again. And you're okay. So we also have Jena Chua, which is for chronic wounds. Wound they say cannot sure. I will show you a picture in my laptop. For a young boy who was 9 years old, whose leg was supposed to be cut off. But we used Jena Chua to treat him, and now he has his 2 legs. They are supposed to cut off from Mulago Hospital. But we cured him using Jena Chua, herbal medicine. That's the power of herbal medicine. They can cure some complicated cases that modern medicine cannot.
How about one who is 60 plus? 60, 70 plus? Because usually those are the victims of such wounds.
Yes. When they have like diabetes is when the thing becomes problematic, but still it helps. Once you control blood sugar and you also apply Jena Chua, then the wound cannot heal. In fact, there are many people whose leg could have been amputated. Even one time I was called here by one of my students to Mbari Regional Referral Hospital. The auntie was there and already cut off 2 toes, but they are planning to cut off the leg. So when the student learned about my products, he called me. I went to a ward. I discovered the physicians there. So by then they did not know me, but I convinced them that let's young lady, let's try this. And the lady was discharged with her legs home, but they are going to chop. So that's what some of these medicine can do. They can actually save people from being amputated. They can actually save people from getting chronic condition persisting forever. They reverse a number of things.
Okay. Wow, a number of success stories, of course, from herbal medicines. Prof, we are still on your story.
Yes.
Let's now go for the professional touch. The media got to know you from Barra University of Science and Technology. Let's connect then and now. How did
okay,
you
so I by the time before coming to Barara, I was at the natural chemotherapy lab in Wandegia, where I said I'd worked for 10 years and 6 months doing research on herbal medicines and also running my own private company, which was in my home. So in 2009, I enrolled for PhD in Makerere University, and then in 2012, Professor Gaba of Faculty of Medicine was my external examiner for my PhD book. So when he read my book, I think he was impressed with the work I'd done in my PhD. So he contacted me that I should come and be a lecturer in Barra University, come and work in Barra University. But I told him that I will come after I graduate. He was like, no, you come even if we have not graduated. I'm like, no, I'll come after. So I kept on dodging. Then together with the previous head of department, also Professor Geni, they also kept on contacting me. So Professor Gaba will send people to look for me. Please come to Barra University, but I will keep dodging. But eventually, I made up my mind to come to Barra University after like 3 years of them looking for me. So when I came, I started interviews. I was interviewed.
Yes.
One of the questions they asked me, why would you want to join Barra University? And I told them that I want to join the team of scientists at Barra University, so we can do more research and develop big things for this country. Because I had come to Barra University and found that Barra University had better equipment than we had in our lab in Wandegia. We have superior equipment. If you come to our lab, very excellent equipment. Secondly, they had academicians who would help me up. There, in chemotherapy, I was like the top person in terms of research. So there was nobody to like put their brains together with me to do better things. No, if you're alone, if you're the only bull in a crowd, you may think you're the strongest. But you need to meet other stronger bulls that can help you even grow stronger. So I decided to come to Barra University, and I was recruited as a senior lecturer. So I worked quite hard also when I joined Barra University. Also God helped me. So we managed to, with a team of other researchers, to apply for a grant, World Bank grant, and we won that grant and set up the African Center of Excellence at Barra University, which is still running. The African Center of Excellence has attracted students from most countries of Africa, like 11 countries, including Uganda. And we are focusing on herbal medicine research. we're doing more work on studying plants, developing medicines, and even biotechnology, applying biotechnology to improve. For example, we would not want to keep collecting medicines from the forest. You can use biotechnology to grow cells from a plant, grow tissues, and then harvest the drug from those cells and tissues. Instead of cutting a tree, you just do it from the lab and get the medicine.
Where does Farm Biotrack come in this?
Yeah, so that's the project Farm Biotrack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the project Farm Biotrack. And we are training now like over 30 PhDs and over 60 masters. Masters, I think like around 7 to 8 master students from Uganda, from other African countries. And those students were very useful in testing COVIDEX. When during lockdown, I worked with those PhD students. They are very, very intelligent. They are very hard-working, and that's how we managed to test COVIDEX quickly. Within just 2-3 months, we're able to test COVIDEX and put on the market. That's the beauty of being in an academic environment. If I was alone, I would have not succeeded in doing it that fast. Yeah.
Wow. The talk ends with COVIDEX, and I think this still connects back to our dots of your professional career. With Mbarara University, of course, giving you a chance to serve, just like you talked about, what would later develop is COVIDEX. And trust me, I would see some of the national televisions, the captions they used to put. At one night I read, Ogwang Gwaliko.
Meaning what?
Well, it meant you're on top. You're the top notch of the country. You're the headline, perhaps.
Okay.
But behind the scenes, and before we actually came to know Prof Ogwang, of course there is a punched up story, but you said it has both sides, the truth and the wrong. Now COVIDEX, if you read about it, well, it started with your two friends that had visited around, and you helped with them with a remedy. Yes. But of course, with your story, that was not actually the start of COVIDEX. What's the story of COVIDEX?
So COVIDEX, I always talk about the COVIDEX formula. The COVIDEX formula, as I said, was developed almost 7-10 years ago. Not for COVID, but for infections in the mouth that cause wounds, both by viruses, bacteria, and other kinds of germs. Now, that formula, I had it, and I've been making medicines out of it. Even if you go to Freka, you'll find that it was called Jena Tuthil, then it was Jena Dent. So when COVID came in 2020 Uganda, we all thought about this which is killing people in Europe like flies, which is killing Americans. You saw people are dying in Brazil. They're using graders to bury people.
Yes.
So the entire world was in total panic that this is impossible. And even in Uganda here, none of us could even say, I can try something. We're all like helpless. But there's a way that events work. There's a way that God works to save people. So in 2020, two of my colleagues get sick of COVID-19. Very sick. One of them was very sick in the university here. And I was led to talk to one of them and tell them that no one thing, I'm sure this thing can help to clear viruses from the mouth. I wasn't sure of clearing viruses from the lungs and other parts of the body. I was just sure of around the mouth. I'm sure it can kill viruses in the mouth, but not too sure it can work on COVID-19 virus. But give it a try. And surprisingly, in just 2-3 days, this friend of mine recovers and he was discharged home from a very bad state to excellent state. And then the second one also I gave him, and he says 2-3 days later he tested negative. That to me was a beginning of an insight into a possibility against COVID-19. I was quite sure that if I could give this to people who I was sure were sick and they recovered in 2-3 days, it can't have been by accident. Within 2-3 days they get better and they go back home. So, of course, we didn't have now cases again after December. 2020 December cases went down, January there are no cases. So in March, cases we start hearing again that there's another variant called Delta variant, which was killing the Indians. You know how they will show pictures of Indians dropping, which was very serious. So we had applied for some money from government to do research to test COVIDEX, Jena Tenue, and Jena D. Those are all products of Jena company. Because my team had told me, let's try some of your products. And since I've seen this one working in 2 people, we had some degree of confidence that maybe one of these products could help us. So then the money delayed to reach us, but the money came like around April. So in April, I assembled the team at Uganda University. Dr. Loro Joseph, Jai, Dr. Jai, Amukale Jimmy, Kawa, all those were my students from the department. So I'm like, you see, the disease has come again. And actually by then now, there was lockdown, second lockdown. Children had gone back home with COVID from schools, including me. I also got COVID. So now, as we're running tests in the lab, people begin calling me. One of the ladies who called me was a friend of mine whom had been treating for other diseases. She knows that I make medicine from house medicine. She knows my medicines are good. So she called me that she had a friend who was badly off with COVID-19. Kampala, admitted and on oxygen and doing very badly. So like, Professor, do you have something for COVID-19 which can help us? This is now beginning to kill people. I'm like, there's something we're testing is promised. So far it has recovered in December. So you can give it a try. So she was like, where can I get? I'm like, you go to my lab in Entebbe Road, because we're producing from Entebbe Road. We're producing from there but testing from here. You go to Entebbe Road and they give you, so they gave us just 6, so you pick 6 bottles. That time I thought that those were 6 bottles. I was overestimating. So she takes it, and then 3 days she said to me that, Professor, the man is out of oxygen. After 5 days, she was like, Professor, the man has been discharged. I have the messages from her. I'm like, this is now 3 out of 3, and I've recovered. Within 3 days, they get better. Then that week of, I think, May, then in May, cases started increasing. So my own cousin sent me that, Doctor, we are going to die. I have COVID, my wife has COVID, my daughter has COVID. If you have something, give it to us. So I first delayed because we were busy in the lab testing. Not really delaying, but you know how something goes off your mind. I thought it was not serious. Then the following day, the wife calls me and she was talking like somebody was going to die. I said, Doctor, if you don't help us, we're going to die. We are badly off. So I called my cousin from Kampala. I'm like, you go to Entebbe, pick 9 bottles, take them to Andrew. Let him use 3 and his wife and daughters for 3. The following day, I think the boy reached like around 9 p.m. The following day, around just after 12 hours, Andrew sends me a text that, Doctor, thank you very much. I have improved greatly. Also, Sarah is not doing badly. People were on oxygen. The following day, I called the wife, because the wife talked to me the day before when she was like about to die. So I called her, and her voice was strong. She was speaking and thanking God for me. Medicine had worked for them. They were discharged home. Those are now 6 cases that treated. I knew beyond doubt that this medicine is going to work. So I was asked by some forum of it so that you tell us what you are doing about your medicines of Jena and anything for COVID-19. So I posted that message. And I've made medicines ABCD from plants over years. Right now we are testing a product called COVIDEX and Part1 University, but showing promise. Because of the pressure of COVID in the population, when that message went out, like people just posted it, then they began circulating.
I was actually thought, most of us actually thought maybe, because we usually see those messages. First we couldn't believe until, of course, the news finally broke. Yeah.
So people were wise. When they saw that message, they began ordering for COVIDEX before that became known. Even Bara here, because I brought some to pharmacy department. Our staff began using COVIDEX before it became known, because it was in pharmacy department. So they would come to my secretary Salome and they would get from here. But it was cheap, for 10,000 they brought it from here. Now, when that message went viral, that's when the entire story started. So for me, I knew that now the demand for COVID is going to increase. Because the medicine was working, I was sure it was working. Now the challenge was, will I be able to produce enough for the country? So I said, now what I should do, I should live in Barara and drive to Kampala, where my factory is, and organize my team there to begin production.
empowering you.
Yes, we did that pause on purpose because now here is a hero that would later receive a medal, leaving Barara and entering Kampala because he's there to make sure he produces a product that would actually later turn into gold. Now, Prof, I do not know whether that was the very week we got to know you, but what I know is later we could only hear the president talk about you. You're leaving Barara. Let's start from that very right moment.
So that time now there was lockdown. Vehicles were not supposed. There was now full lockdown. Vehicles were not supposed to move. But I knew I must get to Kampala to make sure that we can produce enough COVIDEX to supply the nation. So I go to my home here. I pack my things. I leave the family there. I bought the vehicle, my pickup. I had a pickup with a blue number plate. So I was sure I would reach with a blue number plate. So reaching around before, I think before reaching Sanga, there was a tough roadblock there,
yes,
mounted by soldiers. So I go, they tell me to park aside. They say, where are you going? Well, you know they were tough. I'm like, I'm going to Kampala. To do what? I'm like, I'm going to develop medicine. So I say, okay, you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So I go. And I had already organized, you see, because I was producing medicine before, I already organized the team from Bushenyi to collect for me raw material, because I picked raw material from Bushenyi.
Yeah, that was other question.
Yes, so the team in Bushenyi was ready raw materials, the team in Soroti was already raw materials. I already organized them because I've been making those medicines earlier. So they're also ready to get for me enough material. So when I reached Kampala around 10 p.m., I was getting too many calls on my phone. I stopped picking calls.
That was still because of the other message on WhatsApp?
Because of the WhatsApp message, because people were desperate. Ambulances were moving up and down, death was all over, oxygen was not there, people were really badly off. So now, around 10 p.m. when I reached home in Kampala, my heart guided me to pick some call kept on coming again and again and again. Then the heart said, you pick that call. So I picked the call. And a lady talks to me like somebody was going to die. She was saying, she was coughing and said that, Professor, we are all sick in our house. Me, my daughter and my husband, we are sick and we are going to die tonight. That was to me that we're going to die tonight. Please help us, we are going to die. I said, where are you? I had some bottles with me in the car. I said, where are you? She was like, she's in Kasangati. I'm like, okay, so I'm going on the other road. Please, you come. If someone can drive you, send someone to come and pick the medicine. She was like, how much money should I come? I'm like, you just come. Don't worry about money. You just come. So the husband drives her and she comes, coughing, seriously. I give her the bottles for her and for the daughter and for a man. This time I was giving 3, not 6. Because I knew that even one was working.
Because of the first 6 that were...
Yes, we first recovered them before finishing them. So she goes. And then in the morning, in the early morning, I call her like around 8. I wanted to find out, because they said they are going to die in the night. So I call, she picks the phone. And she was talking at least better. The Professor, we slept well. Thank you very much, you saved us. We slept well. My husband's okay now, my daughter is okay, but even me, I'm improving. The following day again, I call her. I think that was a Sunday. I call her again. She's like, Professor, the whole of morning I've not coughed. Thank you very much. Then I started getting threatening calls from so many people. Soldiers, not a threatening calls, but like some people are calling me, they wanted to meet me. NDA wanted to meet me, so I got scared. Even I was called by some big soldiers, they also wanted to meet me. So I'm like, now these are problems, right? So my heart guides me to call a friend of mine. Hey lady, an ordinary lady like this whom I'd met some time back as a friend. I'm like, because also she had taken COVIDEX and COVIDEX had helped her daughter who had COVID-19 and also her auntie who was in the hospital sick with the disease. Auntie was sick and she hadn't had it, but the medicine helped her, she had recovered and come back home. So I couldn't say, I'm like, you know one thing, my friend, tomorrow is Monday, but I'm getting so many calls. My greatest fear is that my factory is going to be what? Closed. Because I not yet informed the NDA about COVIDEX. We are still collecting data.
And yet it's trending.
It's really trending. So she was like, no, you cannot close COVIDEX factory. It is already, it helped my daughter, it helped my auntie, it is helping many people. How can we close it? She was like, I'll call you back. I said, okay. after like 30 minutes, she calls me. She was like, Professor, the president is going to talk to you. The president is going to call you now. Within 2 hours, he's going to call you. Please tell him everything. How many people you have treated, including myself. I'm willing to testify to the president. And tell him what you need. You need security for your factory, even for yourself, because now your life is in danger. Many people would now want to destroy what? To destroy to destroy you and even the product. So indeed, after 2 hours, I get a call. From State House. I never received a call from State House. I see a number 88 ending with 888.
But you've not been picking calls. I mean,
because I was told that the president is going to call you.
Yeah.
So I pick. They said, "Is that Dr. Gwang?" I'm like, "Yes. This is State House. Mzee would like to talk to you." They call him Mzee. Mzee would like to talk to you. I'm like, "Okay." So they connect me to him. And he says, "Is this Ogwang?" I'm like, "Yes." "How are you?" "I'm okay." You know, he's a jolly man, eh?
Yes.
He's very jolly. "I'm told you say you have medicine for COVID-19. I'm like, "Yes." "How do you know you have medicine for COVID-19? I said, "Mr. President, I've been doing research for 17 years. And I've developed other products before. And for this COVIDEX formula, I've had it like for 7 years, but for another disease, for herpes, another disease of the wound that affect the mouth. And I gave it to 2 of my colleagues in December and they recovered. One of them was on oxygen. He was actually dying. When I gave it, recovered within 2-3 days. And I've now treated over 10 people by now. I have my data here with me." "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes. Give me their numbers." So I give the number to the switchboard. I think he called them one by one. Himself. He don't joke with Yogari Kaguta. He called them himself because those people now come. "Hey, president called me asking." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to give you a number to confirm." Then again, he called the following day. He said, "I'm going to call you back at 10 o'clock. And indeed, 10 o'clock was calling again. I waited for his phone. He called at 10 o'clock. Said, "Give me more numbers of people you have treated." "I've treated more." I'm like, "Yes." And I never treated more. I gave him more numbers. Then he asked me, "So now, what help can we give you?" I'm like, "Number one, Mr. President, I need security. I need protection because I'm scared. Secondly, I need to increase capacity because the demand is there and the medicine is working."
The security in this case was for the laboratory or your personal security?
The laboratory and myself.
Okay. Yes.
So he was like, "Okay, no problem. I'll organize for you security and also financial support." So immediately, actually, the following Monday, he called me to go and meet the late General Okech. When I went there, they were waiting for me. They assigned me certificates for the Prof factory and for myself. So this is I'm protected. That's because of COVIDEX. So
are you thinking about Mbarara anyway that time?
So
yes.
And then also he sends his comptroller, Madam Nachobe, to come and meet me and give me money to produce more COVIDEX. So I really want to thank the president very much because if he had not given me financial support at that time, we're not going to produce enough because we're running out of bottles. But when he sent money, we could produce any amount now for Uganda. Okay, at first it was difficult to produce because we never had bottles. But through State House and through the money they sent, we got more bottles from Kenya to help us because local bottles were finished. And then also the security was good because I was worried of the factory being banned. You know, some people are jealous. People are no longer looking for azithromycin vitamins. People are looking for only COVIDEX. People are selling azithromycin and other products. We are getting jealous.
COVIDEX was shooting.
COVIDEX was shooting. Everybody looking for only COVIDEX. So we managed to. It was like war, by the way. For me, that time it was like battle against a disease, battle against negative forces that wanted to conquer us. So what I did, I switched off my phones. I bought another line, and I never moved out of my house. I was only commanding the people in the factory, and people were supplying raw materials from Bushenyi. I was connected. In fact, do you know that at first we're extracting here from Barara? I have my small land here where we would get from Bushenyi, grind from here, extract from here, send to Kampala for manufacture.
That was all undercover.
Undercover. So people don't know where the raw material coming from. They don't know where the plants raw material coming from. They didn't know where the extracts were coming from. They didn't know where the new product coming from Intel, but they would just see extracts brought, packed. Did
you actually mention the 3 plants that
yes.
At that time were they like publicly known?
They were not known. Yeah, people never knew them, but I informed the public about it. I want the public to know the plants that I was using so they can gain confidence because the greatest worry was personally maybe they are toxic, maybe they are harmful. I'm like, no. Let the public know that I'm using Chisubi, I'm using Omuiha, I'm using Omutatembwa. And those are the materials in that plant. So they know that this medicine, we have been using them for years. They are not actually toxic, they are safe. That would encourage people to use it. because the people are making propaganda, you know, it has not been approved by NDA, it may be harmful to the public, such kind of stories. So I needed to build confidence in the people, because my goal really was to not anyone to die. And I'm grateful, there is evidence. Before COVIDEX came, death was there. That is one is true. Oxygen was lacking, hospitals were full. When COVIDEX came like this, things changed.
The success story.
Things changed. Ambulances stopped moving. Oxygen demand went down. People stopped dying.
If we roll the clock back, there was a saga of prices.
Yeah.
This side, the bottle was as expensive as 80 plus. At that time, where were you? What was happening?
You see, I was locked up in my house. I didn't have communication with the world. I was not even watching TV. My WhatsApp had gone off. So I was totally cut off from the world. I don't know what was happening until when I was told later that, Professor, prices are too much. In Bara they're selling at 80. In some places they're selling at 100. Others are selling at 200. So I'm like, what I need to do? Let's organize a press conference. So together with the company, because for us was selling COVIDEX at 5,000 in the factory, 5,000 shillings. But reaching one again, they're selling at 50,000. Reaching Bara at 80,000.
Yes.
So I went on to and said, you people, the price of COVIDEX in the factory, it is 5,000. I don't expect anyone to sell it beyond 15,000. So when I mentioned that, some people again were not happy. Professor, somebody called me and said, Professor, by then my phone was working. Yeah. Professor, go back to the lab, leave us do business. We don't know business. So people were making money now. But you see, when something is scarce and demanded, that's what you expect. In Rwanda, I'm told it was $100. South Africa, it was $300. So people would just make their own price. Wherever there's a person in Mbara here who wanted for the father, and he got it in Kampala. So the please reduce from. Professor said the medicine is supposed to be 10,000. Say, okay, if you think 10,000, you call Professor to give you. Where will you find Professor's phones are not? So he bought at 100,000, 3 pieces. But the beautiful thing to me that the father recovered. The father was diabetic. He was already amputated. He had taken already 1 month in the hospital. And but when he was given COVID, within 1 week, he was discharged. So like even though it was expensive, my father's life is what is there. But there are people who spent even over 100 million and still died. You know, this rich man who spent a lot of money and he still died. So COVIDEX, you maybe pay 100,000, but at least your patient comes back home.
That's, of course, that was the reason why.
That was the bit about it, yeah.
Though, again, there were fake kind of products in the market.
That was the most annoying part of it. You know, I wonder, human beings, the love of money, the Bible says the root of all evil. Honestly speaking, why would you know that somebody has a disease that kills? And you go and fake a medicine and say this medicine works. And then the person takes medicine and then they die. How do you feel in your heart?
I think
you have killed that person. You have killed what? You have killed that person. So some perfect COVIDEX. We got 2 cases in Kampala. In Accra, where I was making COVIDEX from, one of the members, the committee members, bought COVID. I don't know where he bought it from. There are 3 of them were sick in the house. 3 or 4 people. They're using it, but they're not recovering. So they called my CEO. So that we're using COVID, but it's not working. We're like, let me bring for you the original one from the factory to take for them. They started using today. The following day, they are all okay. The entire house was okay. So we picked that sample, go test in the lab to the fake one. Now no active ingredient, just salt and if
you ever get like culprits?
Yes, now we got to know about a sample in Katwe. I was informed about Katwe. So we went to the police and arrested them. We went to them to NDA and so on. But shockingly, by evening they had been released.
Okay.
So there was fake that people were making because of scarcity. People were actually making a fake one and deceiving people. So some people I think who took COVIDEX and died could have taken a fake. Even I'm told in the hospital, someone brought a fake one to here at the hospital at first. But of course, these people knew that the original one was working. But why they're not working? I went to check, it was a fake COVIDEX, so they threw it away. So that was very bad. Some people could have bought a fake one and died, thinking that they're taking COVIDEX. But those who could access the original one, many of them, my data showed 98.5 recovered. All recovered. Those who actually got treatment early, 100% recovered.
Let's roll back to the media, I won't call it noise, You said it yourself, in South Africa, COVIDEX was trending
$300
globally.
Yes.
I don't know at that time how you took the media, I don't know how to call it, the media attention. How did you handle it?
You see,
we didn't see you so much. You were scarce.
Yes.
If anything, this actually should be your first sort of a TV interview, apart from the one you did.
Simon Cassette.
Well, you really went so scarce. What happened?
Yeah. First, I was advised by many Ugandans. Many Ugandans, my professor, avoid what? Media. Because media can twist story. You know, there was that battle between Barry and Ogwang,
yes,
who owns COVIDEX. So now media was trying to use it to fund the fire. Come to Ogwang, ask, go to Professor Bua, ask, go to so to keep the
yes. To connect dots and answer them.
Keep the story moving. Who owns COVIDEX? So it was becoming now like Barry University is fighting Ogwang. Or Ogwang is fighting what? Barry University. And that was not very good actually for us as a university, also as a person. I think Professor Bua, I think it was not good for him. So the best thing to do was to keep away from media.
Yes.
So I kept away from media, and I think they were annoyed with me, but it helped. So they are writing their own stories without hearing from me. But still they were writing,
But at least there was no proof.
Yeah, there was no proof, but still they would write, but they would not get me directly. That was one good thing. So I stayed away from media for some time, and it helped to cool down things. Yeah, to cool down things.
Okay. When we shared this that we are about to talk to you, someone wanted to understand the current, where we've reached with COVIDEX. Which stage are we at? Are we about to see mass production for the continent? Clinical tests, of course, proving which kind of supplementary, the level at which COVIDEX is actually helping. The other big question was, after COVID, is COVIDEX actually still necessary? Just we could first answer those.
Yeah, so right now, with the support from the president, we have expanded capacity to produce COVIDEX. We moved away from Arkwright. We're now in Luzira. National Authority approved our factory now officially, and we have engaged the different scientists. Many of them were graduates from Barry University, pharmacy students, pharmacy science students, and others. I now have a workforce of 70 people, whom I'm paying salaries, everything. They are producing COVIDEX and other products. So we have now automated system. No longer the old system. No.
Okay.
If you come to my factory now, you find machines running.
Okay.
So now we are a fully fledged company, well organized and so on. Why do we do that? Because we expect that COVIDEX will go beyond Uganda. We believe that COVIDEX will be exported one day. Right now it's being exported, but informally. People just put in a bag and go with it to UK, to America, wherever. But we want to do it officially, where we launch export of COVIDEX to other countries outside Uganda. The limiting step right now is the clinical trial, which we want it done. Even the president wants it done, because it will show us to what extent that COVIDEX work.
Yes.
Which category of people recover when they take what? COVID, which one don't recover. So we can know how to prescribe it effectively. But that process has taken time because of bureaucracy and many reasons. But now, finally the team, because they said this, I cannot do it. They said that I am the inventor.
Yes.
I cannot do it.
Conflict of
interest. This how to do it. So the team that has been appointed told me that now they have gotten approval to officially now do the study in hospitals. So now they are waiting for funding through the Ministry of Health. Once the money is released, actually from State House, then they can do the study. But the problem now that COVID is going down,
Yes,
it is going down. So we may not actually be able to do a study immediately because of those delays. But if we could do it now with Omicron, maybe we would prepare for the next wave, and we're sure with our statistics. But nonetheless, people even started again using COVIDEX again in December when the Omicron wave came. Omicron had again come and spreading very fast. But people this time who knew about COVIDEX, so they
kicked out.
They bought all that I'd made. So I had some old stock. They bought all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So an Omicron has been removed from. It is there, but it's weak. Not so dangerous now.
From that very angle, and of course, this gentleman's second question. is there a possibility that COVIDEX could be another fighter for other viruses?
Yes.
Not specifically COVID.
Yes, as I said, COVIDEX formula originally was for other viruses.
Okay, yes.
Including those that cause sore throat, those that cause cough and flu, allergies and so on, and herpes virus and so on. So there are many other viruses that COVIDEX works against. So people should not just keep it there, wait for them. If you have cough, if you have flu, you have allergy, you can use COVIDEX. Again, also actually for unblocking the nose, it's very powerful for unblocking the nose. Just too strong. You need to put like just one drop and then try to avoid it going in the back of your nose. But COVIDEX works for many other diseases.
Okay. Wow, thank you very much who is still watching. And in case we just joined, the gentleman we hosted today is Prof. Patrick E OGWANG. I do not know if I must pronounce that, the second name very well. Yes, but that is it. We are going to end our first part here. In our second part, the Prof is going to share with us the future of herbal medicine, not only in Uganda, but globally, and also, of course, paint the picture of in case he's actually grooming any other young Prof that we should be able to see in the near future. This is Faces of Uganda.